Welcome to my presentation on assessment and teaching practice in early childhood education. Over the next few minutes, we will explore three key approaches to assessment and their values, look at how the teaching learning cycle works, and consider how it's shaped by early years learning framework and the Australian professional standards for teachers. We will also discuss how assessment informs programmings and enhances our collaboration with families. Let's look at the three main types of assessment we use in early childhood. The first one we have is formative assessment. Formative assessment is what we use most often in our day-to-day work. This includes things like observations, photos, learning stories, and conversation with children. It happens while the learning is still going on and helps us to understand what child know, what they are interested in, and what they are ready to learn next. It's really helpful because it guides our planning and teaching in real time. So next one we have is summative assessment. Summative assessment is more formal. It usually takes place at the end of learning period, like at the end of the term or project. It gives us a bigger picture of how a child has progressed over time. This type of assessment is great for checking if learning outcomes are being met and for reporting to families. So third one we have is diagnostic assessment. So diagnostic assessment happens before teaching. It helps us find out what a child already knows, their prior knowledge and support they might need it in the future. This can help include things like developmental checklists or simply talking with families when a child first starts at the service or a center. It helps us personalize learning experiences so each child can be supported from the beginning itself. So like each type of assessment is very important and they all work together to help us make thoughtful, responsive decisions about our programs. Most importantly, all assessment in early childhood should be very authentic, play-based, and focus on supporting children's learning in meaningful ways. So let's look at the teaching learning cycle. The teaching learning cycle helps us plan and improve what we do with children every day. It's a continuous process that goes in a circle. Like we plan, we teach, we assess, we reflect, and then we plan again. This cycle is based on early years learning framework principles and practices, which guide us to provide high quality and meaningful learning experiences. It's all about being guided by the children, what they are interested in, what they need, and what we learn from observing and assessing them. We don't work alone. We include families and communities so we can understand the whole child and create learning that's relevant to their world. So this process helps us stay flexible and responsive. It means we are not just reacting to things, but thoughtfully planning what's best for each child's learning journey. So moving on to the next slide. We have teaching practice aligned with early years learning framework. So early years learning framework is the foundation for all our curriculum decisions. It helps us decide what to teach, how to teach, and why it matters. The learning outcomes guide us. For example, outcome 1 focuses on a child's identity. So we plan activities that help children feel safe, confident, and proud of who they are. So the principle reminds us to build strong, respectful relationships, have high expectations for all children, and make sure every child is treated fairly. So the practices include things like intentional teaching and being responsive to each child's culture and background. We don't just go through the motions, we teach with purpose and thought. So every decision we make should be ethical, inclusive, and holistic. That means we see the whole child and we value every part of their learning and development. So in this slide, we're going to talk about graduate teacher standards. So as an early childhood educator, we just don't plan and teach. We also meet professional teaching standards that help guide our work and support children's learning. So we have like 4 standards here. So the first standard reminds us to adapt our teaching to meet the different needs of each child. That means noticing how each child learns best and changing how we support them so everyone can succeed. So the second standard, 3.6, asks us to look closely at our planning and keep improving it. We do this by reflecting on what worked and what didn't. So how child responded to the experiences we offered. So the third one we have is standard 5.4. So standard 5.4 focuses on using assessment data. This means using what we observe, like learning stories or checklists, to shape our teaching and understand how children are progressing. So the last standard we have is 7.3. So standard 7.3 encourages us to work in partnership with families. So parents and carers know their child best. And by listening to their ideas and feedback, we create a stronger learning community. Together, these standards help us stay accountable and keep growing as educators. So they support us to be thoughtful, reflective, and professional in everything we do, always with the child's best interests at the center. So in this slide, I will be talking about enhancing teaching practice through assessment and feedback. So assessment and feedback helps us improve our teaching and better support each child's learning. First, we look at assessment data to find out where children are doing well and where they might need more help. This helps us adjust our teaching to meet their needs. So next one we have utilize feedback. So we listen to feedback from parents and caregivers. They give us valuable insights about their children's interests, behaviors, needs, and which we can use when planning learning experiences. So we also use different types of assessment like observations, checklists, and work samples. These need to match our learning goals and be fair and meaningful for all children. So finally, we reflect on how well our activities are working. If something isn't working, engaging the children or supporting their learning, we make changes. This way we can keep moving and giving every child's best chance to grow and succeed. So thank you so much for joining my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to stay and chat.